Welcome to the Paul Pratt Show. It is Tuesday, January 30th, and Joe Biden. Good old Joey. The Obama puppet, maybe the Clinton puppet, the geriatric, the child sniffer, the guy that hits a golf ball backwards, falls up a flight of stairs, falls across a stage during a graduation ceremony, falls off a stationary bike, trips over a cord, looks for dead people in the crowd, takes photos with people that were never there at the event in the first place, not even in the same state, still doesn't know his name, doesn't know his wife's name, doesn't know his general's name, doesn't know Kamala Harris's vice president, even though he's president, is still the worst president in American history. And folks, millions of people are going to go to the voting booth and vote for this guy again, thinking that he's all there, thinking that he's one of the best presidents in American history. No, folks, he is the worst president in American history. And I got to tell you something. There was a clip yesterday, this clip, matter of fact, that made Airstreams yesterday. This is Karine Jean-Pierre sounding exactly like Joe Biden. Let's roll it.
What I will say, obviously our deepest condolences go out, and our heartfelt condolences go out to the families who lost three folks who are military folks, who are brave, who are always fighting, who are fighting on behalf of this administration, of the American people. Obviously, more importantly, we lost those souls. What I will say, our deepest.
Folks, no joke. It's as if Joe Biden mated with Kamala Harris. I know it's a gross thought, but like they sat there and reproduced, where you get a word salad mixed with stuttering, mixed with doesn't know what's going on, mixed with not all there in the head. And this is what is produced. Don't make me play it, you guys. They want 4 more years of this stuff. The Democrats want 4 more. Damn it, you twisted my arm. You really did.
Look, folks.
Jesus, man. He's going to ride this country into the ground, folks, and Democrats are going to allow it to happen. Look what they're doing to the localities. Their localities have just been sent to a third world country. Venezuelans are going back to Venezuela after making the trek to immigrate here illegally because Democrat-ran cities are so bad. Joe Biden doesn't know what's going on. Joe Biden is not all there. I know I'm repeating myself, but it is really astonishing that somehow, folks, 82 million, I'm going to put that in air quote, for those that are on audio, we do have an audio portion of the podcast. It's uploaded on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all that stuff. That 82 million people allegedly voted for this guy. Now, if that doesn't sound kind of sus, like a little suspicious, you know what I mean? Then I don't know what does. So, this knucklehead, Joe Biden, as you can imagine, allowed a terrorist proxy group that was backed by the Iranians continually attack our military installations, our bases, our personnel, our allies' merchant vessels, including our own, well over 120 times before he ever did anything. The message for weeks was, stop doing that. Please stop doing that. If you keep doing that, we're going to do something back. Over 120 times this went on. And then finally, they sat there and said, hey, enough is enough. And they, meaning our allies, and twisted Joe Biden's arm to finally do something. So Joe Biden said, give me the most emptiest building you possibly could that's already rubble, that nobody's been utilizing for decades, and let's blow that thing up. That was his response. Well, as you can imagine, the Iranian-backed terrorist proxy group said, oh, really? That's all you're going to do? Cool. Let's go after your actual military personnel. And I said early on, hey, what is it going to take for Joe Biden to actually pull himself out of bed with his chairlift and do something about this before one of our military personnel have to actually die? And I said, that's probably what the result is going to be, is before we actually do anything substantive or substantial, our military personnel have to die. That's exactly what happened. We covered this yesterday. That's exactly what happened. Everybody's bewildered. I mean, even Democrats are bewildered. But you know what? We should have had the kind of the wherewithal to go, oh, Well, no wonder if you're not harsh on anything else around the United States, if you libs and dems in your ran cities aren't harsh on crime, why would we be harsh on terrorists when even in a small, tiny portion of the country, you're slapping them with no cash bail, you're slapping them on the wrist in the same way you treat those same criminals in our localities in the same way you treat terrorists. You let them run roughshod over us, sit there and kick us left and right, and finally, people had to die. Sadly, people had to die before Joe Biden decided to, again, crawl out of bed. So the U.S. military actually released the names and the identities of these 3 soldiers who were murdered by an Iranian-backed terrorist attack in the Middle East over the weekend. So these are the names right here, just terrible stuff. Here's their images. These men and women gave up their lives for this country, folks. 46 years old, 24 and 23. All thanks to Joe Biden, not going to be able to live out a full life because Joe Biden wanted to sit there with a CPAP on and have a little nappy time with a warm glass of milk next to his bed. This is what happens when you have a commander-in-chief that nobody takes seriously around the world. Do you guys remember that G7 summit in about the first year of his office? And he said something with Boris, I think it was Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, next to him. And he goes, oh, well, what about like South Africa? And everybody started laughing. And he didn't know why everybody was laughing. He started laughing too. Joe started laughing too to fit in. And it was the most cringy video ever because Boris Johnson goes, Mr. President, yes, we've already said that. We've already introduced him. And Joe Biden, oh, okay. Like, I hate to say it, but when you're like the senile person at the table, but you don't recognize you're the senile person at the table, but everybody else does? That's exactly what it was like. Everybody's laughing at the United States and has been. Nobody takes us seriously, which is why you have all these conflicts happening around the world. And it just goes to show you, when you're a geriatric old man that shuffles and pooters around the White House, can barely make it onto his own airplane in front of everybody, consistently fights with his teleprompter, of which is undefeated going on 3 years and probably will be 4 years in the making undefeated, which is the best record of any teleprompter I've ever seen. This is how people are going to react. This is how people are going to treat you without any respect. And nobody around the world right now respects the United States because, hell, the United States doesn't even respect the United States. Look at the way the Democrats are treating this country. Look at the way Democrats treat our military personnel. Remember when Joe Biden sent our military into a parking structure rather than actually taking care of them on their home soil? We make them sleep outside. And Trump goes, "Folks, why don't you come in? I got coffee donuts for you. Come into the hotel. We're going to take care of you. We got jacuzzis. We got massage tables." Joe Biden sends our military into parking structures, and Donald Trump wants to actually put our men and women in uniform up in hotel rooms. You know what Joe Biden wants to do? Joe Biden wants to kick out our veterans out of hotel rooms and replace them with illegal aliens. You know what Donald Trump wants to do? He wants to keep our troops that serve this country in hotel rooms. He wants to sit there and take care of them and put them up even in his own hotel and take care of them. But when you're an American, you're a second-class citizen when Democrats are in office. You don't have to look any further than how Barack Obama led the country. You don't have to look any further than how Joe Biden's leading the country. And that was a result of these beautiful men and women in uniform having to pass away because you have a commander-in-chief that doesn't know what the hell's going on. Quite literally, he didn't even know his Secretary of Defense was gone for like a week. But don't worry, you guys. John Kirby says, hey, you know what? We're in mass communication. We're all one unit here. We have our heads on straight. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't have a damn clue what's going on, which is why you can't answer any questions in that White House press briefing. And by the way, they're expecting more than 3 to pass. And that comes from John Kirby during yesterday's White House press briefing, where he said, there's going to be some ramifications to the other more than 30 soldiers who were injured in the attack. And there is kind of talks they're expecting some more to pass away from a result of this. So we do have some clips here from yesterday's White House press briefing, not just talking about what took place with the attack and what's going to be the consequence of that very attack, but we also have stuff about the southern border here from Jackie Heinrich to Philip Wegman and others. We got a full package for you folks. Again, if you haven't supported us yet, hit that like and subscribe button. Leave us a comment down below. Share this link with your friends and family all over social media. Let's roll it.
Can you? John, I just want to clarify two of your previous answers in this briefing. Are you suggesting, in response to the border question, that the president is withholding executive action on the border until he gets the money that is part of this supplemental?
No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting that the way forward, the proper way forward, is to get the supplemental passed.
Okay. And then...
Now, I know this might not make sense to you. A reporter previously in the briefing, because this is 29 minutes into the briefing, basically asked, why isn't Joe Biden utilizing his executive action to figure out the issue at the border? And John Kirby was, in a nutshell, saying, well, he's not able to use executive order or executive action until we get an authorization for bipartisanship in Congress. If you're going, what the hell did you just say? Exactly. Nobody understands that. Somehow, John Kirby's twisting this phraseology into like a pretzel that nobody could straighten out to make sense of. And so you have Jackie Heinrich here questioning him on it. And she's like, you know what? I'm just going to go on to the next question here because I don't understand that. Nobody understands that. Bill Mulligan actually commented on Twitter, bringing awareness to it because everybody in that room was baffled with that response. For a president that has used a ton of executive actions, a ton of executive orders, all of a sudden he's not willing to utilize it when it comes to the border, but he'll utilize another mechanisms that actually harm and hurt Americans. But when it comes to, for some reason, protecting our national security, this guy's nowhere to be found in terms of executive action and executive order. I mean, this guy could send our own military to the border and stop this quite physically overnight. Joe Biden, just think about the power that guy holds, could stop this overnight, and he won't do it. He won't do it. So here's Jackie Heinrich, I believe going to follow up here with basically the attack that took place on our soldiers. Let's roll it.
In response to MJ's question earlier, it sounded like the administration has ruled out strikes within Iran.
Jackie, I appreciate the question. I think you can understand. I hope you can understand. I'm not going to telegraph punches here. We are not looking for a war with Iran. We are not looking to escalate the tensions any more than they already have been escalating. In fact, everything we've done has been designed to try to de-escalate those tensions. That said, this was a very serious attack. It had lethal consequences. We will respond, and we'll respond appropriately. I'm not going to telegraph what that's going to look like.
The question, though, was if you were actively considering targets inside Iran, and your answer was, we don't see conflict with Iran, which indicates that the administration would view strikes within Iran as escalatory. And so is it that the administration ultimately does not hold Iran responsible for these attacks, or that the current level of risk and loss to U.S. troops is somehow acceptable?
I love the way that she sat there, just like we do on the show, take John Kirby's words and repackage it into, this is what you said, this is how all of us in the room are processing it, including Jackie herself. This is how American citizens that are watching this briefing are going to be processing this. Explain to me then, since you're such a clear administration, the most transparent administration that's ever existed, according to themselves, how this actually makes sense.
Appreciate the question and the chance to say it again. I am not going to telegraph punches for the President of the United States. I'm not going to get ahead of his decision space and how he's going to respond. We'll respond appropriately. And you're right. This attack had lethal consequences, which these attacks in the past have not had. And as I said in my opening statement, as we work through what those options are, we'll be mindful and informed by the fact that there are now 3 American soldiers that have been killed.
So it's clear, obviously, that didn't work. Does the president have any regret over not punching back harder in any of the prior responses that he's taken to these proxy attacks on U.S. forces?
I think I would push back on the idea that we didn't push back harder. That we have taken significant action against Iran.
What? This is the crap I'm talking about, you guys. This is the crap that I am talking about all the freaking time. That it's mind-blowing that people will sit there and chant this stuff, and you're damn right I'm playing it again. You're damn right I'm playing it again. Look at his face. He can't believe it. They want 4 more years. I'm playing that all freaking year, you guys, because it's astonishing. It's freaking astonishing that we can get to this place right now where this guy after we just got done being attacked over 127 times since like October 17th in a matter of months, that he's going to sit there, well, I have a problem with your question. I think it was the right response what we did before. You didn't do anything for over 120 times. When I say, and please understand this, when I say we didn't do anything, I mean that in the most literal sense. All we did, and Jackie brought it up, was saying, don't do that. That's what we did. We just said verbally, don't do that.
Iran economically, we have certainly taken some additional and more aggressive steps to go after these groups. We're certainly taking aggressive action against the Houthis to try to defend shipping in the Red Sea. I mean, this idea that somehow we've just, whistled past the graveyard here and walked away from the challenge that Iran poses just isn't borne out by the facts. These proxy groups have been attacking our troops and our facilities in Iraq and Syria well before this administration as well. And
for instance, Mike Waltz said this morning that when you're trying to play defense constantly rather than punching back in a meaningful way, this blood is on this administration's hands.
Correct.
What is the response from the White House to an accusation like that?
What I would tell you and I would tell the congressman is we're mindful of what Iran's doing in the region. And we have taken aggressive action against these proxy groups and on their influence in the region. And there are decisions yet to come. So let the president make his decisions. Let him weigh these options, and then we'll act. These groups have choices to make, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure that they make the right choice here. But the idea that we have somehow laid down and not pushed back on Iran is simply not borne out by the facts.
Nobody's saying that you didn't push back on Iran. We're all saying you didn't push back enough, which is why you still have this going on. You have to show force, that you're not screwing around. And quite frankly, you guys, it's easy for me to say that. You know what I mean? I sit behind a camera and a microphone in a closet in the safety of my home. You know what I mean? Where I'm not the one, God forbid that there was a draft or something like that, but I'm not the one that's going to have to go overseas. I'm not the one that's going to, I'm not the son or daughter that's going over there. So it's all this is very easy for me to say, but it is just really mind blowing. You have a commander in chief. You have John Kirby, Karine Jean-Pierre, Anthony Blinken, Jake Sullivan, all these people that are going to tell you one thing, but the complete opposite is taking place. And these are the same people that touted, oh, well, look at all this misinformation that's going out there, and censored conservatives during the 2016 election, but more so even during 2020 election. Not that they just censor and ban conservatives utilizing big tech, but hell, they also told us certain things were just misinformation. Then when that wasn't working anymore because we're all fed up over it and we saw their shenanigans with the X-Files from Twitter saying, hey, you're suspending and censoring conservatives. All of a sudden, oh, well, it's actually not big tech anymore. This is Russian disinformation. So they utilized our intelligence community, like the CIA, the FBI, to tell us, oh, no, this is all fake. It's not real. The Hunter Biden laptop is completely not real. Folks, this is all the same administration. This is the same administration that wanted to sit there and actually create a ministry of truth. Let that one sink in. A ministry of truth to stop you from saying the very things that you have every right to be saying. I mean, the amount of things that happened in just 3 years is so hard to quantify and kind of package together and keep it all loaded in your brain, ready to go to utilize as ammo, is really hard to do. If you're not constantly studying up on this stuff, it's easy to forget just the damage that Joe Biden has done. And what's even more astonishing, as I've always said, this White House wants to give, and is giving rather, let me correct myself, is giving anywhere from the range of $6 to $10 billion with a B to Iran, after Iran over 120 times has a terrorist proxy group that they fund go after our allies and just killed 3 American soldiers and injured more than 30. And we are still giving them humanitarian aid. The same government that chants death to America and utilizes as a policy, according to their own Ayatollah, their supreme leader, we are still giving them humanitarian aid for some reason. Now, I understand there is a difference somewhat between the government and the people, but at what point do we start shutting off aid and saying the people of Iran are going to have to figure it out themselves because they keep attacking us And if you don't want to sit there and stand up against your own government, why should we sacrifice our own men and women who have no part in that world, have to sit there and sacrifice themselves for something of which it doesn't seem like you're very appreciative in the first place? As I've mentioned, and really, let me know in the live chat right now or the comment section, because I'm genuinely curious. I've never seen this. Has anybody ever seen CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, any leader just come out with a straight script and go, I would just like to thank the United States of America, the president, and more specifically, the American citizens for the $600 billion they gave our country? Or Iran, I would like to thank the United States of America, the president, the Congress, and more specifically, the hard-working American citizens, where we benefited from their hard-earned dollars in terms of humanitarian aid, upwards of $6 to $10 billion. We are extremely thankful, and we wanted to make sure we got this message out to you, that not only are we thankful, but we hope that we can continue to prosper and unite with our allies, the American citizens and United States of America. God bless both countries. Something like that. Let me know, has anybody ever seen that? Why are we constantly sending billions of dollars of our hard-earned money that we could spend here on our troops, we could spend on the homeless, whatever it is, we can utilize that money here to build a border wall, to have better roads, better infrastructure, whatever it may be, beautiful buildings. Nobody ever says thank you. I don't hear about it. Maybe they do. I'm just not seeing it. Everybody takes us for granted, even our own administration. So now we got 3 U.S. soldiers dead. Probably going to be more, folks, because you got this knucklehead trying to run the show himself. So thank God you have Jackie Heinrich doing some pushback right there. But we got, you guys, this clip is awesome. This clip, let me make sure it's the right one. You have Philip Wegman here questioning John Kirby again about this terrorist attack. And what I love is the pushback from Phil, because they're constantly utilizing, oh, well, there's an investigation taking place when it comes to the southern border, so we can't talk about it. So Phil basically goes, okay, well, how many people then need to come across the border? Can you give me a number before the president actually says that it's a crisis? So here's like the exchange between the two. It's pretty phenomenal.
Go ahead, Phil.
Thanks, Green.
You touched on this briefly in response, I think, to Jackie's question, but what is the president's response to Republican critics who are of the mind that this attack was the result of perceived weakness? For instance, the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee said that President Biden's fear of escalation has morphed into a doctrine of appeasement.
They can speak for themselves. That's obviously not the way we see this. We have held Iran accountable, as I've said, through various means and methods. We will.
Who believes that? Who believes the United States, specifically the Biden administration, has held Iran accountable? Let me know in the live chat. I'm here, you guys. I'm in there with you. I'm in there with you. Let me know. Let me know in the comment section.
Continue to do that. We'll continue to act to defend our troops and our facilities and the missions and our national security interests.
And then a follow-up on the border. The terms of the Senate deal that are under discussion would give DHS expulsion authority if border encounters hit an average of 4,000 a day over the course of a week. Does the president consider that threshold of daily encounters a crisis?
I'm not going to negotiate in public.
I'm not asking, of course.
You're asking me about a specific provision that you allege is in the deal. And as Karine has said many, many times, and she's absolutely right, we're not going to negotiate here in public of what's in or what's not in this deal.
Folks, completely baffled. Phil, who is honestly extremely professional. Like, that dude holds it together, is extremely professional. When you see him laughing like that, that should tell you right away how outlandish, and I don't even know another word to describe how insane that response was, how outlandish that just was. Phil's going, I didn't ask you anything about the negotiations that are taking place. I just asked you what kind of number would make this a crisis, because you're not willing to call it a crisis. In all the years, even when Jen Psaki was the nut job up there, being the mouthpiece of the leader of the free world, wouldn't call it a crisis. It was a challenge. If you recall, the original phrase, it was always a challenge. And then what happened towards the end of her reign, if that's what you want to call it, before the other nut job came in, Karine Jean-Pierre, they transitioned it from a challenge and downgraded it to a situation. While they were breaking records, and still are, in December was the highest number of encounters at the southern border in the history of this country. It is still just a situation. So they downgraded it. They never elevated it back to a challenge nor a crisis.
Setting aside the deal in question and waiting for more details to come to light, is there a number in particular with regards to border crossings that the president would see
The
as a
president
crisis?
himself has talked about the fact that that there's a crisis going on at the border and the numbers are too high, and we're going to do what we have to do regionally, not just with our own border patrol, but regionally with Mexico and other countries to see if we can get that number down.
Thanks, sir.
Holy crap! Holy Eureka! We broke ground! Holy crap, we got an answer! Phil, you're a godsend, brother. You, for those new subscribers, you don't understand how big of a deal it just was. For long, 3 years we go on. For those who've been watching me for 3 years, this is the first time on that podium they've ever labeled it a crisis. Wow. Jeez. I am so shocked and blown away. Oh my God. Oh, we're not done. This one I saved for you guys. Oh, this one's a gem. The next two clips are gems, you guys. If you need to refill your coffee, pause it and come back because you want to be sitting down for this one because you're going to enjoy it. This reporter calls out the most hypocritical thing in the entire world on how the Democrat Party, everybody in the Democrat Party called Trump a racist, a xenophobe, all these names for shutting down the border when Joe Biden does the exact same thing, crickets. Oh God, I love this. Let's roll it.
Michael.
Back in the winter of 2018 and the spring of 2019, President Trump vowed to shut down the border with Mexico using almost the identical language that the president used on Friday.
Correct.
Many, if not most, if not practically all Democrats called that xenophobic and even racist. Why shouldn't people make the same conclusion about this president's threat to shut down the entire border with Mexico?
So we believe the new enforcement tools that currently don't exist, that will be, we believe that will be part of this bipartisan agreement, will be fair. We believe it'll be tough, but it will be fair.
But he didn't say he wanted to use, excuse me, sorry
Yeah,
to interrupt.
no,
He didn't say, on day one, I will use enhanced enforcement to improve the processing of people at the border. He said, I will shut the border down, which suggests a total rejection of all people attempting to cross the border without a visa or without proper authorization, which stands in contravention to decades of international and U.S. law that governs the movement of people around the globe and the refugees and asylum system.
Yeah, no,
So why isn't that the same thing that Trump did?
No, I understand your question. What I'm saying to you, the new enforcement tools, right, that we believe that do not currently exist, that will be part of this bipartisan agreement, there are different definitions, right, of what that looks like, of what actually shutting down the border looks like, right?
I want to pause it there because the next part of the exchange is really baffling. Earlier in the briefing, reporters were asking her about the border and asking about, hey, what's basically in this bill or whatever Congress is negotiating on. And she said almost verbatim, well, we haven't actually seen the papers. We haven't seen anything yet. So it's really amazing here that she's going to be talking about the new things that are being established into this bill or whatever Congress is negotiating on when you haven't seen it in the first place. And she gets called out here big time. This guy senses her bullshit all the way through and calls her out in real time.
Right? So we're going to let them work through it. We don't know what that looks like exactly, right? What we are asking for, what the president wants to see, is that we deal with the challenges at the border, right? That we have an opportunity to deal with what's going on, the security, and make sure that we have the funding and the resources to deal with what we're seeing at the border. There are different definitions to what that looks like. And so we'll see what the text comes out of the Senate. And so we will certainly have a broader conversation once that happens. But we believe it's going to be fair. It'll be tough.
Diarrhea mouth. Shut up, Karine. Get to the next part.
It'll be fair. They'll have the resources available to deal with what's going on at the border, and also there'll be some policy changes as well. But to say that, to define what that looks like right now, it's getting ahead of the process, and we need to let Republicans, both Democrats, there are Democrats up there obviously talking to Republicans, they're both having those conversations on what it will look like, a bipartisan agreement, and that's what you need. In order to really deal with this issue, you gotta do it in a bipartisan way.
Just to follow up, you've said a couple of times, as you did just now, that we should wait. You don't want to get ahead of the process. I think your answer to the previous question was that we don't know what's in it. Yet the president and the White House have explicitly said it should pass. And so how is it that on the one hand, the president has said, pass this thing and send it to me, but then when asked about it, you say, I don't want to get ahead of it, we don't know what's in it. How could you say you want to pass it when you don't know what's in it?
Here's the thing, both things could be true, and I'll explain why. The White House team has been part of, right, the negotiations, right? And the president has been getting regular updates, right? So obviously, no. What I'm saying is negotiations are still happening. They're literally still happening. They're still discussing.
What I'm saying is I just bullshitted all of you for this entire hour, and I lied to all of you, and you sat there and lapped it up. And then you realize that I was bullshitting you, so now I'm being called out right now. And rather than saying I was just lying to you, well, it could be both at the same time. Folks, they played the shenanigans when there was a recession taking place, where they switched the definition. So there was a recession, but there wasn't a recession. So both can happen at the same time. There's no recession and recession all at the same time. If that doesn't make sense, it's because it doesn't. It's because it doesn't. Nothing from this administration makes sense. She's an idiot.
This. If I tell you this is happening today, who knows what could happen the next day? And also, I don't want to get ahead of the conversations, right? I don't want to get in the middle of negotiations. And that is true. But the White House team has been really talking to and part of this discussion for the past 2 months. So the president has been getting updates. But at the same time, negotiations are still happening. And that's just the reality that we're in. And talking about that from the podium, that will have an effect on negotiations. And you know that, Michael. It would have an effect on negotiations.
Except the president didn't exhibit that kind of caution over the last few days, right?
For me, from here, I have to exhibit that type of caution. And the president is the president, right? And he wants to give confidence to the American people.
Is he, though?
He believes this is going to be, yes, it's going to be tough, but it's all.
Okay. So she sat there and lied to everybody. And mind you, that just to give you kind of a timestamp on that, that was at 56:16 into the briefing out of an hour and 5 minutes. Okay. So there's only roughly 9 minutes left in the briefing, which takes us a few minutes later. And James Rosen from the back basically calls us out because she's sitting there packing up, ready to go. And all the reporters are going, whoa, we're not done here yet. You just sat here and lied to everybody. You sat there and got called out for your hypocrisy on calling Trump a racist and xenophobe. So it's okay when you guys do it, but when a Republican gets in office, all of a sudden they're racist. Everybody's has awoken to this whole BS thing that Democrats have been doing for decades, where somehow Republicans are the racist and Democrats aren't. When Democrats inherently are the party of racism, they are the party of slavery, they are the party of the Klan, they are the party of anti-civil rights. And somehow they sat there through their factory machines of education, sat there and pushed forward Howard Zinn history and said, well, there was a big switch. There was a big switch. And all the racists went to the Republican Party, which is false. And if you want more detail on that, we talk about in my book, In Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. It equips you fully with the BS myths of the Democrat Party and our education system. So here's James Rosen, who I believe is the one in the back yelling at her, and she gets spicy.
I think I have to go. I have to go.
Is what you're saying, right?
Well,
Shut down the border means shut down the border?
I'll say this. The first day of his administration, the president took this issue very seriously. He put forth a comprehensive piece of legislation to deal with what's happening with the immigration. You don't get to decide, but you don't get to decide what I say and what I don't say. Either you hear me out, or we can, I'll see you on Wednesday. Totally up to you. Totally up to you.
I just want to know if he means
All
what
right.
he says.
Okay.
I guess not.
He means what he says. Not going to go into details here. Here's the reality.
How many times have we heard that? I'm not going to go into specifics. The last time we heard that more specifically, no pun intended, was when Peter Doocy was asking her about, hey, what's the limits on Joe Biden's abortion? Like, does he think a baby could be born and just chopped up and thrown in the trash can? Like, what's his limit here? And she wouldn't answer it. She goes, I don't want to get into the specifics. When you're talking about killing and murdering a child, you should probably get into the specifics and the details of it. At the same time, what did they say since day one? We're going to be the most clear and transparent administration. Every word out of her mouth is usually, well, let me be clear. Let me be clear. But she's not going to go into, and you heard her slip up, Freudian slip, specifics, and then she swapped it out for details because she uses the word specifics too much.
The immigration system is broken. It's been broken for decades, even in the last administration. The president introduced this piece of legislation 3 years ago. House Republicans got in the way. They refused to do anything about it. Now he's in this position to have a bipartisan agreement that the Senate has been working on with Republicans and Democrats on a real solution to move forward.
Folks, I'm just going to go back, okay? I'm just going to go back just a wee bit here, okay? Because there's a statement saying Republicans keep getting in the way.
Not going to go into details here. Here's the reality. The immigration system is broken. It's been broken for decades, even in the last administration. The president introduced this piece of legislation 3 years ago. House Republicans got in the way. They refused to do anything about it. Now,
amazing language. Amazing language. And you want to know, like, who really just eats this up, you guys? They just really eat this up. This people.
Look, folks.
I'm not tired of that clip one damn bit. Even if you are, I'm not tired of it. Do we need to hash this out again? Do we need to kick a freaking dead horse or a dead body such as Joe Biden's? Holy crap. Are you guys with me here? I've always said it. I'm just in front of a camera and a microphone in my closet. Some average Joe American. I'm not any smarter than all of you. Just bringing awareness to the BS out there, the hypocrisy, the lies of it all. Republicans are getting in the way. Whatever the Biden administration says, just think of the complete opposite. Republicans are getting in the way means Democrats are getting in the way. We sat there and put punishment on Iran. They didn't do anything to Iran. We're securing the border. They're not securing the border. We're taking care of homeless. We're not taking care of homeless. And you know what's even more astonishing than all of that? She sat there and said, we've had a system that's been broken for decades. Great, Karine. So you made it even more broken. It was already broken before, and it was slightly working somewhat. And what you did was you took that tool and just broke it right over your damn knee and said, now we don't have anything. Now we have no border whatsoever. This is the same administration. And I love calling this one out because we don't talk about it actually too much here on the show. That left Trump's border wall laying in the desert. No joke. Our tax dollars were going towards paying the rent to keep the border wall that was built already laying in the dirt in the middle of the desert at our southern border. Rather than them building it, already built. Just put it into the ground. We were paying and still are paying for it to rust in the desert. But don't worry, you guys, it's all our fault. Don't worry, we're the ones that are causing all this stuff. So, continuing here with illegal immigration because it's the hot button issue, and I've always said the debt and illegal immigration are my number two issues, number one, number two. So, Texas Governor Greg Abbott sends stark message to sanctuary cities as migrant crisis continues, and I haven't read it yet. I saw it, and I was like, Greg, give me something good, baby. Tell me you're just going to continue to bust them there and just ream it and collapse their whole infrastructure. That's what I'm hoping for. Republican Texas Governor Greg Abbott sent a stark message to sanctuary cities on Monday, vowing his state's transportation of migrants to their areas would continue. Yeah, baby. Until the federal government takes action on the worsening border crisis, and Dems are shitting their pants right now. Ooh, we can't figure it out. You know what? If Joe Biden could sit in his dirty diaper all day, so could Democrats. Texas has transported over 102,000 migrants to sanctuary cities. Overwhelmed Texas border towns should not bear the brunt of Biden's open border policies. Our transportation mission will continue until the Biden administration secures the border, Abbott wrote on Twitter, or in other words, X. Oh, God, I'd love to hear it. Normally, I wouldn't be for something like this. But just seeing the punishment it's giving to Chicago, New York City, Washington, Philadelphia, and completely collapsing their education system, completely collapsing all their infrastructure, their localities. They're having to defund the education system to pay for all of this. It worked out better than I thought it would, to be honest. So Abbott's promise comes amid, again, the feud between the Biden administration, even though the Biden administration says it's going to be all our fault. So we also have Texas authorities locking down Eagle Pass, but border crossings persist in surrounding areas. So it's kind of, yeah, it's a good thing, but I mean, there's such a large swath of land that's completely open that we're still getting screwed, is basically what this is saying. The effort from Texas authorities to prevent illegal border crossings in Shelby Park Eagle Pass appears to be effective, but border crossings have persisted in surrounding areas. If you recall, the entire border now, according to John Kirby himself, who we just saw in our first segment, is now one giant port of entry. There is not 28 port of entries anymore. According to him, and please don't feel like I'm misconstruing his words. I'm not. Please go back to a prior episode of ours. He said himself that the reason why they need to cut the border, basically the razor wire at the border, is to allow the processing of migrants, and it gives the Border Patrol an ability to do their job of sitting there and basically processing migrants. And the question was, well, John, isn't there ports of entry for that? No, it's all ports of entry now. That's why they wanted to do this. If that doesn't blow your mind, you guys, there is no border. You have to understand that. There really is no more border in this country. There's just one port of entry, and it's the entire border. The Texas National Guard and Texas Department of Public Safety have successfully maintained control of Shelby Park, a 47-acre park in Eagle Pass, Texas, along the Rio Grande, despite attempts of the Border Patrol to retake control of the park. Now, you're getting some, even for me, we're getting some wish-washy stuff here. On one hand, Border Patrol is frustrated, allegedly, that they're not able to do their job because of what the Texas National Guard is doing and Texas Department of Public Safety. But then on the other hand, you're getting the Border Patrol Union saying they're backing what the Texas National Guard is doing and the Texas Department of Public Safety. So I don't know if this is a manipulation on behalf of the media to sit there and confuse the two and make it seem like they're butting heads, when in reality, they're actually along the same path and they agree with one another. My kind of thinking is that everything that I've grasped in 3 years, that's what I'm going to utilize. What I've seen over the course of 3 years is frustration from obviously the Texas authorities and the Border Patrol agents. Border Patrol agents' morale is low. Border Patrol agents don't like Joe Biden. Border Patrol agents are even going and basically clashing with their higher-ups, their supervisors, because those Border Patrol agents made an oath to uphold the Constitution, of which Joe Biden doesn't want to do. And when I say this, based on the totality of everything, I want to say Border Patrol is in support of the Texas National Guard and the Texas Department of Public Safety. I don't think, even if Joe Biden tried to federalize things, I still think that the two would work actually together because of this BS. I do think you have bad C's within Border Patrol that are basically trying to follow this corruption of the Biden administration by cutting razor wire and allowing these illegal aliens to pour into our country. I mean, we saw DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said it's around 85% that are let into the interior of the country. If he's saying that, you guys, it's probably realistically 95%. Basically, everybody's just being thrown into the interior of the country. Middle-aged men, military-aged men that are going to sit there, and some of them are doing heinous crimes. So we have some footage here obtained by the Daily Wire, and I do want to play for it all. Let me make sure I get this for you. It shows here Texas National Guard soldiers assisting the state's Department of Public Safety apprehend a group of illegal border crossers early in the morning. So sometimes the audio sucks on this bad boy. But for those on audio, you have our authorities here apprehending these illegal aliens. They're probably just going to be let into the interior of the country, to be quite honest, unless they're the 5% that does it. They're standing in front of makeshift border walls, and along the border walls, I believe there should be razor wire. But these illegal aliens, yep, you can see the razor wire on top. You can see the razor wire on top of the shipping containers right there. These are the same shipping containers that the EPA was sent in by the Biden administration to remove earlier on in this administration. And so you got Greg Abbott of Texas instituting these shipping containers, which is exactly what I've been talking about for 3 years now, to create a makeshift border wall because the Biden administration doesn't want to do it. And so what's happening as well with this feud between basically the federal government and the state is that I believe these shipping containers are actually on the United States side. They're not exactly right up to the border. And so the argument is, more of a legal argument, is that our state troopers, our Texas authorities have to actually apprehend them. And to be even more specific than that, our Border Patrol has to apprehend them because they're on our side of the border. Rather than building the border wall right upside state lines right there, or country lines, is that's at least the argument the Biden administration's making in terms of why we have to apprehend them and then let them into the interior of the country. You guys, I understand that is bonkers. I understand it. We're on the same page, baby. We're on the same page, but that's still what's taking place. And this last one's a gem before we end today's episode. Oh, this last one is a gem, you guys. Jesus. Hold it together. Hold it together here. Ukraine says corrupt officials stole $40 million meant to buy arms for the war. Who could have thought? Who could have thought this would have happened? I said it that this, I was clear as day. I was clear as day and told you not all this money is going to the military. There's people for sure that are stealing it. There's also people that are spending it on other things that aren't military, like their education, their water, electricity, building up their infrastructure in that country. All these billions of dollars that we're sending them, don't think it's going to the battlefield, because it's not. It's not. And I've always said, I think between Iran, Ukraine, Russia, and China, I think Joe Biden is so lax on this whole thing because I really do think they have dirt on this guy. I think they have so much intelligence on this Biden family that he's crapping his pants and he doesn't know what to do. And so he's trying to appease them. They have him by the balls, you guys, and are pulling it down. He's like, oh, oh, he's freaking out, right? Well, when you have $40 million meant to buy arms of war and it just kind of disappears, nobody's shocked, because if you recall, the Ukrainian prosecutor, Shokin, that was looking into the corruption of this country because it's extremely corrupt, and was already looking into Hunter Biden with Burisma Holdings to look at the corruption under that, and the Biden family. That's when you had Joe Biden, when he was vice president, I believe, saying, hey, if you don't fire Shokin, you're not getting the $1 billion. Why? Because not only was Shokin looking into the entire corruption of this country, but he was also looking at the Biden family, specifically Hunter Biden. So nobody's shocked that they stole the money. Nobody's shocked that the money just kind of disappeared. Employees from Ukrainian arms firm conspired with defense ministry officials to embezzle almost $40 million earmarked to buy 100,000 mortar shells for the war with Russia, Ukraine's security service reported. But John Kirby was like, the money's fine. This was a question, by the way, from reporters early on. Like, how are we actually auditing this thing? Nobody's auditing anything, you guys. Our own Pentagon has failed. Hear me clearly. Our own Pentagon has failed 6 SIX consecutive audits. If anybody failed one, you'd be royally effed. They failed 6 consecutive audits because it's your money. It's not theirs. When it's somebody else's money, it's not a big deal. We'll just spend it all over the place. That's what you have here. So there you go. Corruption taking place on all levels, from our own government to other people's government. And you want to know who gets effed at the end of the day? It's us. It's always us that gets effed. And you know what? There's certain people in this country. There's a large swath of this country, you guys, that loves to get bent over. They really love to get bent over. so dumbfounded.
Look, folks.
You saw the polls. We showed you Illinois. We showed you California. I could show you every Democrat-run area. They're still going to vote for this guy. Even with the terrible foreign policy. Your retirement. I mean, you guys, you might as well just bend over along with Democrats, say, yes, sir, please, I'll have another. Just reaming you from behind. Your wallet is being shrunken. Okay? Everything you're seeing right now in terms of the economy going up is all smoke, you guys. It's a facade. They're playing you. You can't pump an economy full of trillions in dollars and not have long-term effects. You want to know what the short-term effect was? That 9.1% inflation. That was the short-term effects. You have long-term effects that are still going to come into play. And that's why I said if Donald Trump gets elected, he's going to have to deal with a lot of things that are basically shadows right now. And those shadows will be brought to light when Trump is in office. And guess who's going to be the blame? Trump's going to be the one to blame, even though all this stuff happened in the Biden administration. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, folks. A lot of information for you on this Tuesday. You're all true American patriots. Head over to baldbrad.com for some goodies over there. There is a thank you tab down here that some of you have been asking for. That allows you to donate per video. To kind of show you an example here real quick. If you click on this thanks tab right here, you can actually do $2. And I mean, if you want to do 500, you'd be a baller. You'd be a freaking baller. But you can do $2 and such, and it goes straight to the show. It goes straight to me, which I greatly appreciate. If not, we do have a membership tab down below as well. Would love for you to become a patriot here on the show. You can actually gift other people memberships as well. That's a very new future. Future. You guys know what I mean. When I say new, like literally came out, I think, last week. And I think Blues has been trying to use it. So, anywho, thank you for all your support, guys. You rock. Can't wait to see you tomorrow morning for another episode here on The Bald Brad Show.